I'm going to be honest, this is not a subject I ever wanted to talk about because this subject greatly upsets me, and I don't want to be upset. Life is difficult enough without thinking about this shit, and these times are so hard, and yet they keep getting harder. And right now, what am I feeling? Is there anyone out there? 'Cause it's getting harder and harder to breathe. I'm exhausted. Honestly, I'm exhausted. I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm not going to any of the protests. And there are two main reasons for it. Well, really, it all boils down to one main reason. I'm scared. I'm too scared to show up to the protest. Why? Because coronavirus is still around. As far as I know, they haven't actually done anything about it, and there is going to be a huge second wave because Vegas is reopened and there are a casino packed with people, none of them wearing masks, none of them wearing gloves, because there are a whole bunch of people in the streets protesting. There's going to be a huge second wave, and a lot more people are going to die. I don't want to die, not right at this moment at least. And even worse would be if I didn't die, because then I'm just going to be my body slowly ravaged by a deadly disease, and eventually I'd get over it. But still, like, if I end up in the ICU, that's a charge I can't afford right now. Don't have a job, don't have medical insurance. And another reason not to go to the rallies, because I know, if things do get violent, I'm going to be one of the first people targeted. And if the cops arrest me, I don't know, I can't pay. I might not be able to pay bail. Or worse, they just beat me to a pulp, break my legs. I can't pay my hospital bills. And I don't want to deal with that right now. I got too much other shit going on in my life. I can't find a job. I'm trying. But it's tough. So far, all the people I've applied to, I've only even heard back from one of them, and that was to say no. I suffer from PTSD and suicidal depression, and I can't afford counseling right now. I could, but I'd be bankrupt by the end of the month. And since I don't know when I'll be able to get my next job, I'm trying to make that money last as long as I possibly can. These are the sacrifices we have to choose. Because a few months ago, I broke my foot. I broke my foot at work. I broke a bone in my foot, and I just fought through it. I don't know if any of my coworkers could tell, but I had a noticeable limp for a couple of days. Because those are decisions you have to make, because I can't afford surgery. Even if I had insurance, then, surgery, not only do you have to pay for the surgery, but then you're missing paychecks because of the time you're taking off from work to have the surgery and recover from it. So I just fought through the broken bones in my foot because I knew that getting them fixed would cost too much. That's the decision that that many of us in society have to make. I've made decisions like that before. Oh, I've got a migraine and I feel like I'm dying. Who gives a fuck? You gotta go. You're working for minimum wage. You can't afford a day off. I've gone to work with stomach infections and shit my pants in the middle of a shift, and I'm talking wet green shit. And first break I get, go to the bathroom, throw the underwear away, and just wipe my butt, put my pants back on, go right back to work. And just hope that I don't shit again. Those are the choices that people in our position have to make. And the people at the top don't understand how hard we're working and how hard we're fighting just to make a half-decent living for ourselves, to the point where we don't always worry about how much that next paycheck is going to be, where we know that we can pay rent when the rent is due, that we know we're always going to have a roof over our head, that we know we're always going to have food in the fridge. There are not as many employment opportunities, there are not as many educational opportunities, there's not as much health. We don't get preventative care. We get emergency care when shit gets so bad that we can't just fight through it anymore. That's what a lot of us are left with. There is too much inequality in this world, and nowhere is that inequality more dangerous than in police brutality. Because a month ago, you had a bunch of white people grab guns and storm government buildings. You didn't see the cops attacking them. In that situation, you got a whole mob of people with guns coming at you, and somehow you didn't feel like you were in any danger. But a bunch of brown people are just standing around yelling at you, "Fire the tear gas!" I've said this over and over again, and I'm going to keep saying it until it stops being true. We have innocent black kids being murdered in the street. On the one hand, you've got a guy running away from a cop, and he gets shot in the back 3 times, and then a gun placed in his hand, so the cop can try to claim self-defense. With 3 bullet holes in his back because he's running away from you and you're claiming self-defense. Meanwhile, how many mass murderers, people with automatic weapons who have already killed dozens of people, being brought to justice without a single cop firing a single fucking shot? You tell me that has nothing to do with race. Look at the faces, look at the skin of all of the mass murderers with automatic weapons who were somehow brought in without a single wound on their body. And you've got an innocent man being murdered in the fucking street. And it takes weeks of protest before a single charge is filed against a man who is caught on tape murdering someone. And that's the world we live in. There are so much of our current policing system, the strategies and policies that they have were built during segregation. There are so many. Our modern police force was built to stop slavery from ending. It was to grab newly freed slaves and throw them in jail to prevent them from gaining any power. That a white guy can have a pound of cocaine in his car and he'll get a fine, maybe let off with a warning. Black guy has an ounce of weed, he can get 2 years. There is a lot of inequality in this country, and the majority of it comes when it is concerning the police. And I've had someone ask me, why do black people hate the cops so much? And it's the only reason you have to ask that question is because you're white. Black people don't hate the cops. We just know how much the cops hate us. It's hard to be friends with someone when you know that they have a gun and they have the legal right to kill you. And they are always killing people who look like you. And all you have to do is step outside, because just walking down the street can be considered a suspicious activity when you are a black man in America. I've had it lucky. I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm not from the ghetto. I lived in a 2-story house for a good chunk of my life. I got every Christmas present I wanted in elementary school. I never had to worry where the next meal was coming from. But as I get older, I don't know if you've noticed, but that wage gap keeps increasing. The middle class keeps shrinking. The wealthy keep getting wealthier. And there are more and more poor people who are struggling more and more. And life just hasn't been fair to a lot of my people. And to make matters worse, when we peacefully protest against police brutality, how do the police respond? With more brutality. Once again, a month ago, a bunch of white people grabbed guns and stormed political offices, and the cops did nothing. But a bunch of brown people fill in the streets, and they are arming themselves to the teeth. They are militarizing, and they are attacking. They are assaulting us. A lot of people when coronavirus hit, the one thing they were saying is, I can't wait for things to go back to normal. But we can't. Normal will not work anymore. We need to do better. You know, a lot of people say America is the greatest country in the world, but honestly, we're one of the shittiest. I mean, we have one of the least rates of upward mobility of any developed country. I mean, we're essentially a caste system. For the most part, in order to be rich, you pretty much have to be born rich. And that, I mean, are there exceptions? Yes. But exceptions do not prove the rule. And I don't know what fucking idiot first started saying that bullshit, because it has never made any fucking sense. It's just... Things need to get better. And I don't know any other way to say that. Just there's too much hatred still in the world, too much inequality, and we've got a self-centered coward in the White House who cares more about what people think of him than about actually doing his fucking job. We got a whole bunch of old white men in power who care more about filling their pockets than actually serving their constituents. And you know what? It's really easy to just get numb to it. I grew up in Texas, okay? The politicians here suck ass. And they go out of their way to implement as many policies as possible to suppress voting for minorities. And it's really easy to become numb to it. I was born numb, honestly. But the world needs to change, and in order to change the world, you have to put in the effort. America is a horrible country right now. It really is. And I refer you to a line Sylvester Stallone said in one of the Rambo movies. I love America. I would die for America. I just wish America loved us as much as we loved it. Or, to put it less eloquently, as Eminem once said, I'm all about America. Fuck the government. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say, you know. A lot of people will pride themselves on the fact that, hey, we're getting better, we're making strides, but getting better does not necessarily mean that things are good. Because getting better just means things aren't quite as shitty as they used to be. And guess what? America has always been a really shitty place, especially when it concerns the treatment of minorities. Okay? If you can look at today's world and say, hey, we're better off than we used to be, and you actually think that's good enough, consider this. You are less likely to be killed by someone with a knife than someone with a gun. Because someone with a gun can fire at you from 20 feet away and murder you. Someone with a knife has to run up, catch you, get in close, and stab you. He has to stab you either enough times or in the right place. You know? But here's the... But here's the thing I'm trying to get at. If you see someone with a knife and he's running at you, are you going to be like, oh, thank God, at least it's not a gun? No! You're going to run like hell because you don't want to be stabbed. It's been a long day. It's been a long century, honestly. And I think we need to start treating America more like an infant. Because America is not that great of a place right now. It could be. America has the potential to actually become one of the greatest countries in the world. But it needs a lot of work to get there. And we have to care enough about America to actually want to do the work.